Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. Today's Talking Thursday, I speak with our amazing Regional Director of the Southwest, Vicky Avery. Vicky and I speak mainly about the Feeding Communities initiative and the Beyond Education Being Human project as well, and what her region are doing throughout this lockdown. It's such a great talk with Vicky because she is so passionate about what we're doing at Thomas Franks via the Thomas Franks Foundation with our Feeding Communities initiative. Please have a watch, and if you can, donate to our Feeding Communities initiative. Hi Vicky, how are you?
Hi Anna, I'm really good, thank you.
So how are you kind of getting on during this third lockdown now?
Well, it's been interesting. It was a very short notice lockdown, which always brings it with it its own kind of challenges. One day we're open, next day we're not. So that involves an awful lot of reorganising and things like that. So that's been, the challenge probably this time more than last time. I mean, last time was very difficult because we'd never done it before. So, there was a whole raft of rules and regulations that we had to adhere to and deal with. This time we've kind of know a bit about those, probably understand what our clients want from us this time. So we just didn't have as much time to get it organised.
You are one of our regional directors and you work in the Southwest. But I can only imagine that like you've kind of said, since this lockdown, your job role has changed dramatically from what you would normally do. So can you tell us a bit about that and how it has changed for you?
Yes, I can. So, I live in rural Somerset and I don't really go out very much these days. So my job role is vastly different because normally I'm never at home and I'm never at a desk for very long. And anyone who knows me very well, there's a reason for that, probably just kill everybody in the room if I'm in one place for too long. Hence, it's the reason that I do the job that I do. So that in itself is a big challenge for me personally, is not being out and about, not seeing somewhere different every day, not having that interaction with the children and the clients and the food and, the things that I normally do. So that in itself has been a challenge throughout lockdown.
So last September, when, I don't want to say this, but things kind of were a bit more normal than they are now.
Yeah.
Following the success of Feeding Communities, our new initiative, Beyond Education, Being Human, was launched, but it was actually launched in the majority of your locations.
Yes.
Why is this kind of so important to you? Because we've talked about it, and that, I know it's important to you. But it's really great to see that so many of your locations are taking part in it. So why do you think that is, and why is it so important to you?
It's important to me in a lot of ways. So doing community feeding was kind of what kept me sane in the last lockdown, because it meant that I did go out because I had to go out and deliver food to people or do things, So it meant that isolation feeling that the last lockdown could have given me didn't, because I was out. So from my own kind of the way I am, that was great, because that in itself was important. However, the more important thing was about the fact that I learned about people in situations they never thought they'd be in. So a lot of my locations got involved because we made connections with charities that explained to us the situations that these people find themselves in. And food to me is it's a fundamental of life, but it's the thing that gives pleasure. So at birthday parties, it's about the cake and the food. Yeah. And, it's not just about the people, food brings people together. And some of the situations, so I live in a rural part of the country that's very reliant on tourism, and hospitality is a big part of that world. So a lot of the people we helped were affected totally by the closure of that. So they are in my industry, but in a different part of my industry. So I live near holiday camps. I live near little villages that have the cafes that run all summer, the fish and chip shops, your pubs, all of that sort of stuff is the bread and butter of where I live. And to see those things closing and the suffering that's caused, because those people don't earn a lot of money anyway, they can only work during the summer months, really. It's kind of, they rely on that to sustain them through the winter when they may be doing other things. And it's the young people's work, that's where they go to work and do those things, So for me, that was what brought it home that actually you are only ever a step away from a situation you never thought you'd be in. And a lot of those people are just families doing what they normally do and found themselves in a situation. It's like, my goodness, my income's disappeared overnight. I don't know what I'm going to do. How am I going to afford to live? So, and they weren't able to be furloughed because they're probably casual workers. But not only that, but the other people in homeless situations and things also that this really affected badly. So that's one part of it. But beyond education being human is about teaching people to cook, which is also something I have a great passion for. People in poverty, you find actually, they may get a bag from FareShare or other charities, and they actually don't know what to do with those ingredients to make them anything nice. So the Beyond Education Being Human project not only taught kids that probably don't get a lot of opportunity to cook at home or really just like cooking and would like to make a meal for somebody who really can't make one or can't have one, but also it's that whole cyclical thing. And I see this, growing in the fact that the people that maybe need this teaching to cook from the ingredients they're given will get that opportunity through some of the programs we're doing. So it's really inspiring in the fact that you actually might solve the problem a bit more long term for some people, in the fact that the children can cook and things like that. So that's really great. But, in all honesty, it's something we could do to help. We had closed kitchens, the clients were really happy to let us use them. So that's been why probably in my patch has been really, because they're like, yeah, use our kitchen. If, whatever you want to do with it, just kind of do it. It's fine. We had amazing support from places like our suppliers who loaned us a freezer truck so we could put things in. And, so it was a real coming together of a lot of people going, actually, we can make this difference. We just have to kind of think a little bit differently. And I'm not an in the box kind of thinker anyway, as everybody who knows me knows, it's kind of, how weird can I make that? So as far as I'm concerned, that connection of everybody was a real, we don't do it normally, but we don't do it in that way. People do things, and everyone was really ignited by the fact that there were so many people who we could help, with things that would have gone to waste, with things that, oh my gosh, I've ended up with a glut of tomatoes. What can I do with them? And that creativity is what we do as a company and as an ethic within our teams of people. It's all about being creative, and we would be able to be creative in a different way. And it was fun. I've been donated a load of chicken. Right, Stuart, what can I do with it? What can we make with a load of chicken? So that sort of thing. But I hate waste as well. So, the fact that food waste, so much food waste. I worked for a supermarket for 10 years and watched what they threw away and was always horrified. So the fact that, those things can be, utilised, that we can make really nutritious stuff with things that people just can't use at the moment. It's a really, it's massive. It's absolutely massive. The impact is huge. So that is exciting. And I think that's why my teams wanted to get involved, because they could be creative. They're helping people, which generally all of my guys are just want to do. They're just doers. They just want to do. They want to make sure that, everybody gets what they need. And when you see people who really are struggling, it's awful, and if you can do something about that, it makes you feel really great. So in a world where the news is just really kind of negative a lot of the time, some of that positivity is really great. It's an injection of, gosh, I did that, we did that, our teams did that. We as a company didn't just go, actually, everyone's on furlough, so, we can't do anything. We didn't do that. We just went, right, okay. Next. How can we deal with that problem that everyone thinks is awful? So that was what it was about, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I think that will be a lasting legacy, not only for the company, but and the foundation itself will be born from a lot of that. But I think certainly going forward, people will think differently after this. They will think about what they're throwing in the bin. They will think about people that haven't got anything, perhaps more than they ever did before. They will think about those nurses that were exhausted. I mean, we fed an awful lot of them, and because they don't have time to have a break, and they're just absolutely worn out, and and they're the ones keeping us all from those awful things going on. And I think, you know, that all of that stuff will continue. People won't forget.
No.
They won't forget. And I think that in itself is inspiring, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it is. It's such a legacy to kind of create, and it's amazing that, you know, you've been part of it and I've been part of it. It's just, yeah, like you say, it's a feel good kind of thing in this current situation. But
also people who would really be in a terrible situation, more so because they haven't had anything to eat, you know, that just in this society, in this time, you know, you never imagine that that's in the UK, do you? You know, you see lots about, but there are some absolutely heartbreaking stories. And, you know, the fact that you've been able to give them a meal, or give them a week's worth of meals if they've been caring for people, or, you know, there's so many scenarios where it just makes it better, or in some cases is real life-saving stuff with the homeless and things like that, you know, that they're a meal away, you know, they've got something that's warm if they're not got a home, you know, we can't imagine that. No. We can't, you know, and that's another thing, makes you just feel thankful for things that you have. We all have a bit of a come home at the end of a day sometimes going, oh blimey, what a day, but in real honesty, what a day is nothing in comparison to what other people go through. So it just keeps you on that kind of level, doesn't it? Realizing actually what is a big problem and what isn't in life.
Yeah, so kind of leading on from that, you've touched on it a bit about that you're, you know, kicking off the feeding communities with some of your locations, but what does the next couple of weeks look like for you and your teams and your region? Okay,
well, it looks like quite a lot going on. So we have a large amount of hubs, you know, now, so the community feeding will really be getting going now. So we've identified places where we've got charities that are really in need of food. We've had a load of food donated, and we've got loads of recipes ready to make food that is the right sort of food for the places that it needs to go. I've got people right at this moment in time starting to plan out when their deliveries are to the charities and those sort of things. Yeah. There's a lot happening in the Reading area. There's a lot happening everywhere. But we have got, and you know, we will have by the end of this week an awful lot of hubs ready to go. The clients are all amazingly generous, and, you know, yes, use our kitchen. A lot of them are open, so they are actually serving key workers, kids, and, you know, those sort of things anyway. So that helps the team. There's some people in there, the teams are sort of still rolling, and there's food coming in and out. So that's great. That means the kitchen's kind of operational. It's not been mothballed, you know, and which is great. But we've also got places where they're not open because they can't be. So they're happy to donate their kitchen, which is amazing. But also they're donating money. They're finding us the charities as well. They're, you know, they know they have links with people who really are now in, you know, another need for more food. So yeah, it is, you know, going to be a busy couple of weeks, I think.
But it's exciting as well.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah, really, really exciting.
Sorry, I interrupted you there, Vicky.
No, that's fine.
So finally, which is my new question to kind of round off all of our Talking Thursdays for 2021. Very, very different from what we've been talking about, so bear with me. But what is your favourite go-to kind of late night snack?
Well, that's a very interesting question, which I had to put some thought to. So for me, I used to go clubbing in my teens because I grew up in a seaside resort with a couple of clubs, and I used to work in the hotels and then turf into a club and turf out in the morning. Goodness knows what breakfast service looked like. So if you were talking to me back then, my late night snack would have been the jacket potato van outside the club, which was amazing. 2 o'clock in the morning, a jacket potato with cheese is just the thing you want, especially if you've been working all day, dancing all night, and then about to get up in the morning. So yeah, so that would have been my late night snack at that point, which is jacket potato. The guy used to stand outside the club, and they were epic. I used to love those. But now, as I'm aged and don't do so much clubbing and getting up at 2 o'clock in the morning, probably a bowl of cereal.
Oh, that's quite a favourite for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we would just go back to the jacket potatoes, because when I went out, when I was at uni, there was no jacket potato vans, and I feel like I've really missed out.
You could have. They are a thing, I tell you. Jacket vans. Maybe it's a Southwest thing. Who knows? I just loved the jacket van. Was the coolest thing. It was just like everybody turfed out. I mean, they did a roaring trade, and they were really lovely as well. And it was just a warm snack when you've been, because you're tired after you've been doing all that jigging about. Yeah. So yeah, you may have missed out. Maybe it's something to revive in our lives. The jacket vans.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, Vicky, thank you so much for speaking with me today and being really honest as well. And it's so clear that you are amazingly passionate about what we're doing, and it's just so nice to see.